Okay, we can start. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this plenary session in our third day of the MED conference on safeguarding growth, overcoming global disruptions. I'm Carlo Altomonte, I'm Vice President of ISPI, and I'm very glad to welcome here our guest that I'm about to introduce. We have here Huda Benjonet Allal, Director General of Mediterranean Organization for Energy and Climate. Good morning, Huda. Good morning. Igli Azani, Her Excellency, Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs from Albania, welcome, and thank you for being with us today. And Osama Mubarak, the Secretary General of the East Mediterranean Gas Forum. Thank you, Osama, good morning. With Huda and Osama yesterday, we had a very nice session on the energy transition in the South Mediterranean shore. So the starting point of today, I mean, today is a good day. We have a ceasefire happening in Lebanon. So this is already very good news. But what we would like to do together is to try to take stock of the business implication of the tensions that are in the Middle East, in particular in the Israel-Lebanon area. But that, however, are also having consequences for the maritime traffic in the Red Sea, potential energy disruption, a general increase in insurance costs and transport costs, ships routed around the Africa route to Europe, and in general, uncertainty that might deter investment and therefore growth opportunities for the area. And we would like to do that not only looking at the South Mediterranean shore, but also at other Mediterranean countries that might be affected by that might instead be a key player in terms of opportunities like Albania. And this is why we have also the pleasure and the honor of having with us today Mr. Hassani. So let me start with a set of questions to our speaker, short questions, so we can have 3 rounds of answers, and we will, as you know, the timing is very strict. We have to finish by 10. So I would start with Her Excellency, Mr. Hassani, asking him how and to what extent he thinks Albania has been affected by the current state of tensions in the Mediterranean, and what is your country also doing in cooperation and dialogue in order to sustain the peace effort? What type of solution do you envisage, do you see for the area? Mr. Hassani.
Many thanks to ISPI and many thanks to the Italian Foreign Ministry for organizing such an important event. And as you said, it's a beautiful day. Every day is beautiful at the moment that we reach peace, reconciliation, and possibilities to move forward. And this is exactly what I would like to talk today. We are living in times when multilateralism is suffering, when we don't see facts and situations from different angles, but we see things and facts from opposing angles, and we act differently. And forums like this, but also our engagements in international organizations are the ones that keep not only the discussions in the right way, but also the commitments of the countries in a way that can be predictable. And this is the most important thing. We have to act predictably, not unpredictably. And what is coming from some areas of the East, be that the northeastern part of Europe, be that the southeastern part of NATO, of the European Union, particularly the area in Iran, in and around Iran, is very unpredictable. And many of the situations are being created due to the unpredictability of these state actors that are trying not to obey to the international order. Albania is a small country in the Mediterranean, in the Western Balkans. We are in the middle of different routes that link the European Union with other parts of the Eastern Mediterranean. But what is more important is the fact that the dynamics are such that the development of the possibilities for cooperation are vast, and this is what we have been trying to do, to enhance the possibilities of cooperation, to enhance the possibilities of engagement, to enhance the possibilities of putting things into the bigger perspective. Because without engaging, without working together, without putting the dynamics into the same vibe, I think more difficulties we will be facing. What has happened and what is currently happening in the Middle East is immediately at our doors. It's not something distant, it's not something far, it's next to us. And being next to us means that we have to not only pay the necessary attention, but also try for tangible solutions that work for all sides. And I'm pretty sure that with the necessary commitment, many of the situations will move, hopefully, into a more positive direction, with the ultimate aim not only for peace, but also for the stability and security of the region, for the stability and security of the people, because what is happening has gone through many limits, and this immediately affects not only the politics but also the economies, and by affecting the economies, then there is a big set of routes and a network of possibilities that is again affecting what is happening. It's important to continue the dynamic of being able to find solutions, not to hide ourselves behind the walls of strong positions, but to be able to accept ways of moving forward. And by accepting ways of moving forward means we have to accept the coexistence, we have to accept the fact that whoever has the right not only to live, but also to decide on the realities that we are facing. Albania is a member of NATO, candidate of the European Union. Many of the reforms and the ways of looking forward are based into the realities that I was mentioning. But what is important is to continue the engagement, to continue meeting with partners. I'm happy to have such distinguished panelists that maybe up until now we haven't had a real engagement with the organizations that they represent, but why not? That's what the scope of
allowing sort of stakeholders to be together, discuss, at least ask the right questions, if not having the right answers.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now let me move then to Huda, then Jonetta Lalla, and so we take a more sectoral perspective. We just saw what for a country that means on the Mediterranean, but what about the oil and gas industry? This is a crucial industry for the South, of course, for the prosperity, because these countries depend a lot on oil and gas, but also for Europe, for the green transition. Paradoxically, without the oil and gas industry in the South Mediterranean, the green transition cannot happen in a way. So how is the industry affected?
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me with you this morning. And I would like also to echo what His Excellency has said regarding the excellent news that we are hearing about the ceasefire, and we hope that this will be not 60 days, but for longer, and that other good news will happen. With regard to your question, actually, the Mediterranean region is suffering for several crises, starting for more than 1 decade now with what happens since 2011, and which has affected both the energy sector, but also the economies. When we look at what the present war in the MENA region and the impact on oil and gas, as far as we talk today, so the impact are relatively small, so there is not a huge negative impact so far, and let me explain. So for oil, in terms of production is ongoing. So the production is ongoing, countries are willing to sell. We have heard yesterday to which extent oil and gas is fueling the economies of these producing countries. So this is very important, and companies are trying, despite this difficult time, to keep the momentum and to keep the production. However, what is affected is the way to bring this oil and gas to the consumer, and what used to take 19 days now is taking 31 days. And so therefore, of course, this means that we are consuming more oil just for bringing the oil into the demand supply. And there is also another impact of increase of oil demand due to the increase of demand in Asia. Oil, in terms of production, it is still ongoing. What is affected is the prospects and the future. So some projects have some delay or some postponement, but for the oil production is ongoing. And for the impact on the environment, however, is not very good because we are consuming more again. Oil and ships are trying to go faster as well, so longer distance and faster, and this is the negative point. For gas, the situation is even better because for two reasons. First of all is the lower demand, and second is that we have a lot of resources already, storage reserves available. So the effect is not that huge. But nevertheless, the 2024 year, it is a fragile situation, and therefore there is volatility of prices, and this is what we contemplate. But globally, the market is quite calm, we could say. And if there is no deteriorating escalation, so one can hope that the situation will improve. So how companies are reacting to that? Twofold. Of course, there is a need to invest more in the security, because therefore we are acting in a situation which is more complicated for security, so investments. And the other is to, now security of supply is coming back, but also to be resilient to what is happening and to diversify not only the resources, but also to invest more in the energy transition, what we talked yesterday, to diversify the portfolio, therefore looking also for new technologies, for renewables, for renewable hydrogen, in order to address this fragile situation in present and in the future.
Thank you, Uda. And continuing on this, along those lines, I would like to ask to Osama Mubarak, to what extent the developments of the industry, also in terms of renewables, of course, but not only, decarbonizing also has been a very important element of the oil and gas industry. But to what extent the current situation is changing the prospect for energy cooperation in the region? To a certain extent, you might say the uncertainty, less investment, but on the other, it is also true that the Mediterranean is a large area. There are several projects ongoing, North-South cooperation. So paradoxically, it can also be that the uncertainty in a place might increase, let's say, the degree of intensity of cooperation in order to avoid that uncertainty. How do you see the balance overall the area?
Good morning. Thank you, Carlo. It's really a pleasure for me to be here among these distinguished panelists. And maybe I would like to start by the basis of the foundation of the East Mediterranean Gas Forum. Because we started the forum because we found significant gas resources in the region. Most of them are not utilized. So we thought by bringing the different stakeholders together, the producing, consuming, and transit countries, and also the companies, we can overcome these challenges, and it has been paying off. Gas has been flowing, interconnectivity has been working. Some of this gas has been going to Europe in a time that really Europe needed a diversification source. But definitely, to your question, I think especially investments in infrastructure, energy infrastructure, it's a long term, so investors need more stability. But until now, things are going, as Huda has been saying, it's not very much impacted. But on the longer term, if this would continue, definitely this would impact the ability of the region to attract more investments in this regard. But again, on the other hand, what I believe is that we had a positive development with the ceasefire in Lebanon. We hope that soon we would have a similar development in Gaza. And I believe in the day after, collaboration is even more important. It might seem to some people, how can we talk about collaboration in a time of war? But I think bringing the governments and the stakeholders together and having a more interdependent economies, this can support peaceful coexistence on the longer term. And I think this is what we are trying to do, especially using energy to catalyze this interdependence.
No, thank you. Thank you, Zaman. I think if I have to take a first message from your first round of intervention is that in the short term, we can cope with those shocks somehow, and also with our strategy of dialogue and discussion, etc. But if tensions persist over the long run, then this is going to have a strategic impact on choices, on investment choices, on the choices of countries, which might then lead to persistent damages. This is also what we are seeing let me just put my hat of economist in for a second. This is also what we are seeing in trade data. In the short term, the damages can be contained. There are numerous ways around global value chain. But if this uncertainty starts affecting the investment strategy of company, then the value chain itself melts down because of lack of investment. And that is going to be problematic. Okay, and because of this, because of the needed to build this resilience into the system, clearly, it was mentioned, sustainability is one of the areas where we want to all invest and continue putting pressure in order to support economic resilience. And we have just had the conclusion of our COP29 in Baku. I was wondering to what is the evaluation that you, Minister, have of the current situation on climate change. How do you judge the results of the COP? What is this? Do you think this is going in the right direction? Are there some, we know it's a very complicated story also because of the US election now, but do you see that there is some path in going forward in this?
It should be. By definition, it should be. It should be because we see that the future is not bright in the way we would like to be bright. It's bright in the way that it's becoming hotter. A hotter future means that we have to pay more attention, more and more attention, and not just commitments and not just words, just to check the boxes of finishing an important meeting and going out of it. Countries like mine, small countries with small economies and small footprints are trying to do their part of this business, but at the same time, the whole dynamic should be such that we have to accelerate as much as possible in reducing our carbon footprint. Albania is one of those examples that we have quite a strange dichotomy of realities. We are a country that produces 100% of our energy on renewables, hydropower, wind power, and so on. But at the same time, we are, as I was describing at the beginning, we are in the middle of many networks, and one of the major projects that we have in Albania is the Trans-Adriatic pipeline that comes from Azerbaijan to Italy and brings LNG to the European Union, brings LNG to Western Europe.
I was in Rome as economic advisor of the government when Russia invaded Ukraine, and thank God we had that pipeline.
Therefore, the alternative routes of bringing gas to Europe are present and are also very much connected also with the southern Mediterranean. It's crucial and fundamental that this network should also build a network of trust, a network of prosperity, but also a network of shared values. At the moment that these shared values are being put up front, the whole dynamic can bring better perspectives. And this will not be a pure economic cooperation based on reciprocal gains, but it should be also a cooperation of values that can bring forward different synergies, can bring forward a better engagement in terms of the realities that we're facing. I'm repeating the strange dichotomy that my country has, a country of full renewable energy, but also in the core of different networks. And what we're trying to expand these networks, not only networks of gas supplies, but also networks of communication. Most important thing is that we have to expand our markets to make our markets more sustainable. And as the madam was saying, time now is of essence. The faster we get into moving our goods, our products, and our people, the better we are engaging, and the more we become prepared for the commitments that we are taking. And going back to your question, one thing is the commitment, but the other thing is what we're doing. And have we done enough recently to reduce our carbon footprint? I'm not sure. I'm not so sure. We are just taking some commitments that the governments are trying to impose into their national action plans. But what is missing is a stronger understanding, first and foremost, but also a stronger mechanism to enforce these commitments that governments and states are taking in their own full capacity.
Thank you. No, the very important commitment that we have to do. But talking about those commitments, Uda, you just said that overall the oil and gas industry is, for the time being, coping with the shocks. But again, that if you look at the sustainability pattern and implication of that, the current situation might be less optimistic, right? Which would clearly go against the idea that we need to accelerate. What is your take on that?
Thank you. Yeah, I think that we all know that we are in the region which is the most affected by climate change. So we always call us the hotspot of climate change, and so we cannot continue business as usual because we know the effect of energy sector within this climate change, and therefore, of course, the fossil fuel. And there is an agreement that we need to reduce or to phase out fossil fuel in order to address this issue. Now, when we look at our region today, indeed, fossil fuel represent more than in the South countries, more than 85% and close to 90% and even more in most of the countries with the luckily, this is much more natural gas for the electricity sector, but still oil sector is playing a big role for the transport. So we are today starting from a point where we are fully almost fossil fuel. And the paradox is that the South Mediterranean countries are endowed with huge potential for renewable energy resources, in particular solar and wind, but is exploiting these resources much less when we compare with what the European countries are doing. So this is the paradox. The good news is that now we know that these technologies and access to solar and wind in particular are much more cost competitive than in the past. So the conditions are better in order to exploit, and we have no other option. And the countries in the region are showing this with the commitment that they are taking to accelerate the energy transition, and in particular based on renewable energies. And this is for two reasons, not only for climate change reasons, but also for energy security. Because from today to what I explained yesterday, from today to 2050, we expect more than 125 million people to come. So we need to fuel the economies from the South Mediterranean countries. Yeah. And so we have a population that is growing. We are starting from a point where the energy consumption per capita is much lower than in the South. So, and we know that the turmoil that happened in the region are putting pressure on the governments in order to increase the welfare and the socio-economic development of these countries. And their energy is going to play really an important role. So definitely we need to accelerate renewable energy, and we have started seeing ambitions and increasing ambitions. So in the last COP, we have heard Egypt increasing its renewable energy target from 51% to 65%, Morocco, Tunisia. So all the countries have really ambitious targets, and they are starting implementing these strategies, so we hope. Second is energy efficiency. So we don't talk a lot with on energy efficiency, but at OMEC we produce every year scenarios on how the future of the Mediterranean region would look like. And when we analyzed what would be the impact of the unconditional NDCs, unconditional NDCs meaning what the countries have committed to do, and this is really scaring news because we see that we will keep still economies based more than 60% on fossil fuels. And this is bad news, not only for the climate issue, because by the end of the day, the footprint of these South Mediterranean countries is not that huge, but on security aspects. We will need so much energy, fossil fuels, that we won't have enough. So the energy dependence of the South Mediterranean countries will deteriorate, and this is not a good news. However, if we tap this renewable energy potential, so we will be, the countries which are exporting today may keep and even improve their ability to export, and we know that the world will still need gas for the decade to come, and at the same time, so promote new technologies, new jobs, etc. Renewables would also allow to decrease the CO2 emission in the region by more than 45%. So this is a win-win solution. But again, we need to keep our eyes on all the options, because energy efficiency can reduce the CO2 emission by more than 40%, and therefore we need the less energy we need, the best is. But another important message is that natural gas will still keep a role in the Mediterranean region, and so we need also to decarbonize the natural gas, and also to look at CCS, CCUS, and also storage. So all the technologies are there, but definitely we need to accelerate the renewables, and the signals that are coming from the South Mediterranean countries are positive with regard to that. The only fear is the financing, so how to finance this, because the difference between the unconditional NDCs, which I said will keep us polluting and consuming fossil fuel, and reaching these ambitious targets of renewables will rely on climate finance, on attractive finance. And COP has been conclusive, but as we know, the funding which has been committed is not enough in compared to what the countries are asking. And we need also to work in order to attract to our region what has been committed.
On this, I would like to ask, in fact, Osama, on, I mean, all this, as Uda said, all the South Mediterranean countries are committed to ambitious targets, also in their own interest, because of the increasing energy demands over the years. How do you see the situation, Osama? I mean, what are the most promising technologies / evolution in the renewables across the area that you are seeing?
So I think, as Hoda was saying, we need not just to accelerate renewables investments and production, but also we need to address the energy security and energy transition as going hand in hand. We need to address them as short-term and medium and long-term, not one or the other. So I think, yes, renewables is achieving, getting more ground every day, but this is not going to be enough. That's why we need to accelerate the decarbonization of the gas industry. This is, as EMGF, what we're trying to do. We're, with the support of our member countries and also our companies, the Gas Industry Advisory Committee, we have a plan of decarbonization of the gas value chain over the next 8 years to reduce emissions. We're starting with the simple things that will not need a lot of investments. It's simple things like methane emissions abatement, like gas flaring reductions, like energy efficiency. These actually are saving money and also reducing emissions. And along the way, we're going into more, let's say, sophisticated technologies, and technologies that are more capital intensive, like CCS and CCUS and other electrifications, and that need more investments. But I see the commitment from the government and also the companies. Most of the companies operating in the Eastern Mediterranean have their plans some of them have milestones by 2025, others 2028 and 2030 to zero either the zero flaring or even net zero emissions. So I think, and to refer to the discussions that we had yesterday in the Energy Transition Forum, we know what to do. So there is alignment from everyone, from the companies, from the IFIs and so on, but we need to take actions.
And it's interesting, we have alignments north and south, which is not obvious, but that's important. Yeah, so makes sense. Now on this, given also our timing, I would like to have one last round of question, or more of a political nature, right? So exactly, and maybe we revert the flow, so I let the minister conclude. What do you see as an area of cooperation in the area among the South with Europe? How do you, what do you think we should need? I mean, the European Commission is appointing a commissioner for the Mediterranean for the first time that will supposedly have a very important coordinating role, although there is no directorate general. So this coordinating commissioner also something that is very much up to the role to create. But I would like to hear your opinions, and then also the Minister Azani on this political space for political cooperation in the area. Where do you see the actions that we need to take?
Okay, I think we see a case for a win-win collaboration between the different parties of the Mediterranean, whether we talk about South, North, or even other stakeholders. So it's a win-win. That's why we need to take some actions in this regard. So if most of the Southern Mediterranean and Eastern Mediterranean has a lot of renewable potential, and also gas resource potential, but what they need is investments that does not come as a gift, but investments, but with something or criteria that are easy to unlock the potential. The other thing, some of the resources need technologies that are not available within the region, and most of the international companies, a lot of them are European. They need to have more dissemination of these technologies or best practices. And I think the political will to have a more integrated region is also important. I think one of the things most of the governments in the region, they are willing to do to develop the resources, but some of them don't know how, or they don't have the regulatory framework that is necessary for this. And again, this was one of the topics that was raised yesterday. How can we create a more integrated market with a more homogeneous regulations that is easier for the investor? So I think these are the three main topics that we need from the Commission.
Thank you. Thank you. Uda.
Thank you very much. Yeah, indeed, integration. So we are very glad about the signal that the European Commission is sending. But the Mediterranean region is lucky in having the different ingredients. We know that no single country can make it by itself. We know that no technology, one technology will solve the issue. So energy transition is a collective effort of everybody, and the Euro-Mediterranean region will have a very positive impact and the least cost even option to make this energy transition altogether based on the complementarities that the region has in terms of resources, the huge resources available in the source, but also technologies available in the north, knowledge. So we know what we do, what we need to do, but now we have to accelerate the implementation. Definitely integration is very important. So we are the same way we were able to import natural gas from the South Mediterranean countries. We can also promote renewable energy exchanges between, so exchanges even both directions. So we need to invest in infrastructure. We need to accelerate the implementation of energy efficiency, renewable energies. Financing is an important issue, and here we need to work together also to have innovative financing schemes because there are a lot of barriers. Of course, regulation is very important. Skills, we need to work together in order to empower also people that will go and implement in the Mediterranean region. So it's once again, we have the ingredients, the different pieces of the puzzle are there, regional organization, East Med Gas Forum, ourselves, the industry, the regulators, we have all them. So we need to put all the picture, the puzzle in the same direction, the right way, and to work together, because we all have we share the objectives. So now the countries are saying we need to decarbonize by 2050 net zero, targets on the renewables, but we need really
even Libya, we were saying.
Absolutely, even Libya has a target of 40 gigawatt by 2030. So we need to implement, to make things happen, but a win-win. So that the South Mediterranean countries and the North Mediterranean countries have benefit of this cooperation. There is plenty of opportunities, as I said. The demand in the South Med will double. The electricity, if we go to the electrification, so electricity will even triple. So there are also even business opportunities, could be a win-win, but definitely we need solidarity. We need to work, and with the spirit that everybody is winning by the end of the day, both the South and the North.
Thank you. Minister, I leave the conclusions to you. In light of your experience and having this alignment of demands, at least, and common needs in the area, it's then not easy to have all the actors together around the same table. And which type of political tools do you see? I mean, do you see the Commission going forward and creating a conference? I don't know. I mean, we made in the Mediterranean many various attempts of creating all sorts of political organizations that then didn't go very far. But what would you suggest, and how would you organize the cooperation in the area, which is clearly crucial on a number of things? I mean, as you said, you are already fully decarbonized in terms of energy production, but you are central to a number of networks, energy, communication, transport. So again, it's always the cradle of civilization of the Mediterranean that comes back with history to us.
That's why they bring people like you at the ISPI to put the difficult questions in a nice way than to finish in beauty. What I would add from the previous speakers is that we need institutionalized trust.
Okay.
That goes back exactly to what they were saying. This integration and these mechanisms that we have to build are important, but I would brand it institutionalized trust. Because if we see the layers, for example, you and me are considered Southern Europeans.
Yeah.
But when we are seen from the perspective of people of the Mediterranean, we're seen as Northern Mediterraneans. Huh?
Yes.
So the terminology changes so much, so frequently, then we end up in different branding. That's why I say that we have to put a system of institutionalized trust in order to better understand not only each other, but also the challenges that we face, and to plan the way forward. There are difficulties that not only all we can understand, but there are difficulties that can happen day after day. And for this, we need to create this grid of mechanisms that are able to respond to different options of possibilities, challenges, threats, and opportunities, of course. So, yes, a response, at least for the countries in Europe, is the European Commission. It's a mechanism that is quite solid, has a perspective, has quite an ambitious plan, has also a logic and a network of engagement with the southern part of the Mediterranean, with the partners of the south. But at the same time, we have to look a little bit more broadly, because, I don't know, we cannot call and ask our friends in the Pacific to look only from the European perspective and only from the European options of realities that we're facing. We need to accelerate on building trust. Going back to what I said at the beginning, we're living in times where our multilateral mechanisms, our multilateral organizations are suffering because the values that we see and represent are not seen and represented in the same way. Therefore, should be on important topics like energy security, food, food supply chains, things that bring people together with major challenges on finding not only opportunities but also ways forward. Climate is changing rapidly. The resources are being depleted rapidly, and we are consuming and putting forward more and more. Therefore, it's not good to be egoistic, selfish, and isolate ourselves in our own bubbles. Cooperation, engagement is the response. We all know that, but we have to elevate that cooperation and those engagements in a better understanding of the realities that we're facing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks to all the panelists. I think that what we have proven here today is that experiences like this, where you bring people around the table and you start discussing on issues and you start asking the questions and what seems to be like, oh my God, incredible problems, etc. When you bring it down to a mutual dialogue and cooperation, then create a lot of opportunities and the possibility to solve and start at least the process of solving problem. And I think, I'm sure, as far as I am concerned, this forum, this conference will for sure try to be instrumental over the next years in order to keep having all the stakeholders. And maybe next year we can have an additional step ahead. In some way, this is MED number 10, but it's also MED number 0, given what has happened over the last years. And somehow we hope that from here we can restart on new grounds of cooperation for the entire area. So let me thank you again, all the panelists that has been with us, Tosama Mubarak, Souda Benjanet Allal, and Minister Higli Asani. Thanks a lot. We'll mean a round of applause. Thank you. And I leave you to the other very interesting events that are ongoing around us. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
So now you can fly.
Great.